Long gone are the days of waiting to be seen in a doctor's office only to have that awkward conversation with your healthcare provider. WISP gives you access to sexual and reproductive healthcare from the comfort of your home. Get treatment for BV, yeast infections, UTIs, and much more delivered directly to your home or ready for pickup at your local pharmacy in less than 3 hours. The best part? WISP is discreet, convenient, and you don't need medical insurance to receive care or prescription medication. Visit us today at hellowisp.com.
Mochi Health is a long-term weight loss solution personalized to fit your unique needs and goals. Meet one-on-one with board-certified obesity doctors and registered dietitians who are on a mission to listen. Eligible patients can access custom-formulated GLP-1 medications at an affordable, set price and get them delivered to their home each month. No insurance required, FSA and HSA accepted. With 24/7 customer service available, Mochi Health is here to partner with you on your journey to a healthier life. Take the free quiz at joinmochi.com and use code AUDIO40 at checkout for $40 off your first month of membership. That's joinmochi.com.
Welcome back to another episode of Investies. I'm your host, Linda Garcia. This week on the podcast, we are going to get a bit personal. This episode is going to be different than what you are accustomed to. I am now 8 hours into attempting to record this episode. I have been watching myself self-sabotage for hours. I, of course, walk away and come back, sabotage, walk away, come back, sabotage again. I want to put it out here that this is going to be the one. I am going to do this. I'm going to get through this conversation. It's not even that serious. I think it's just that I'm getting personal more so than what I normally do on the podcast. While I do like to get personal from time to time, I also like to be somewhat protective of my personal space because with my first business, Let There Be Luz, which also included a podcast, I was a complete open book. And from 2016 to 2020 on Let There Be Luz, I would open up about everything I was moving through in life. And I got to the place where I knew it was time to not do that anymore. It was not healthy for me in the sense that I needed to go inward and completely redirect where I was headed. And that's exactly what happened. Let There Be Luz was such a successful podcast. People still download episodes. I still get messages about Let There Be Luz. It was such a beautifully curated body of work that I am proud of, but also I cringe. I do cringe because I was such an open book, but it proved to be very beneficial to a lot of people, and it was the foundation of In Luz We Trust. And of course, both of these brands were built off of Luz Warrior, a username that started formally back in early Twitter days, but then also all the way back from MySpace days. Now, Luz Warrior was a name that I chose for myself in a space where I was going to be creative and release and write and share and tell stories. The name came from or was inspired by Paulo Coelho and his book, The Alchemist. There were actually a series of writers that were incredible writers and completely changed the direction of my life. Paulo Coelho being the one that really just propelled me to go for what I was seeking with the book, The Alchemist. There was also Don Miguel Ruiz with the Four Agreements. There was Carlos Castañeda where he explores shamanism, and just that entire collective of writers really just took me to a beautiful space where I could explore ancient Toltec teachings and shamanism and spirituality at a moment where I was moving away from organized religion after facing so much abuse in that space. And so Luz Warrior for me was almost like an armor that I could put on and protect myself from my life experiences, but also become someone that was stronger and less fragile than what I actually saw myself as. The warrior for me represented my past. A lot of you all know my past. I'm, of course, very open about it. I stopped living with my parents at 12 years old. I was in gangs. I got pregnant at 13, became a mom at 14, and persevered a lot of darkness. Everything you can imagine feels like it happened to me. It was a very dark early life. And I was working really hard to find faith and move through that and find God. I was exploring and looking for God in all kinds of churches and places. And unfortunately, I fell victim in organized religion that was not good, not healthy. Moved away from that, and that's where I found Paulo Coelho and Don Miguel Ruiz and Carlos Castañeda and all of those writers, Don Juan. And I flourished. I really did. I began to flourish, and I began to, almost find myself or create myself, more like, not necessarily find myself, but create myself. So I have a really deep attachment to Luz Warrior, which is what I go by on social media accounts. Let There Be Luz was a spinoff of that. In Luz We Trust, when I started to educate on the stock market and weave in spirituality into the stock market, which really attracted women, which was my intention, and also attracted men that had much respect for strong women. So I can say with confidence that the majority of men in our community and those that listen to this podcast really have a deep level of respect for strong women. And most of them were raised by single moms or by their grandmothers, or they'll just tell me stories about strong women in their lives. So it became a very safe community for the exploration of the stock market, but also being able to reflect our own personal money wounds and money stories and evolve outside of those wounds and those negative stories. I am at a space and time where I no longer feel myself in alignment with Luz Warrior. And that is so painful to say because it's not necessarily that I'm not in alignment. It's that Luz Warrior, that name and everything that comes with that name has reached its end. The best way that I can describe what I'm moving through is something I learned from Eckhart Tolle, who has some really incredible books as well that I started to read later in life after the group that I just mentioned. Eckhart Tolle talks about the ego a lot, and he talks about the devil being of the ego. So when people talk about good and evil, typically when we're experiencing evil, it has to do with our ego all of us have an ego, right? There is not one person on earth that does not have an ego. We all do. And so he talks about how or where the ego likes to spend most of their time. And typically, the ego will spend its time either in the past or in the future. And in the past is depression driven. So when we start to think of our past, it can typically bring up a lot of pain. And if we spend too much time in the future, it can be anxiety driven. So it can bring a lot of uncertainty and a lot of unknown and just drive us into spiraling these narratives that we can either tap into and begin creating or really be so far from what can actually manifest in our lives. And so when I think of the name Luz Warrior, I relate the warrior to everything that I overcame in my past. I relate it to it being driven from the past. And when I think of Luz, I think of all of the potential for the future. And while I work really hard to not necessarily spiral in a negative mindset when I think of the future, I try to be very mindful and very positive. That's not always the case, but I try to practice it. It is still future driven. And so Eckhart Tolle teaches that God is in the present. So the only time we can really experience God is when we are being present and the mind is quiet. We're not focused on the past and we're not focused in the future. And in the last 2 to 3 years of my entrepreneurship and now moving into this new role of politics, I have gotten better at living present in a moment-to-moment basis. I cannot get too far ahead of my week. I can't think about next week. I can't think about next year because it really begins to overwhelm me. It will crush me because I am navigating spaces that are so much bigger than me and carry so much weight that if I start to focus on the future, it's crushing and it's soul-sucking. And I don't really spend a lot of time in the past anymore. I've been able to move away from that. I have really, truly been better at practicing being in my present moment, in the here and the now, which is what Eckhart Tolle calls it. And so if I am in the here and the now, I am nor a warrior and nor am I Luz. I just am. I'm Linda Garcia. That's the name I was given at birth. And that's just who I am. And so I'm going through this rebrand where I am shedding Luz Warrior. And in shedding Luz Warrior, this also means I'm shedding In Luz We Trust, which I have been shedding In Luz We Trust for, I would say, since the time that we started promoting my book. I was so focused on my book that I sort of let go of In Luz We Trust. So I have been shedding that, I don't even know what to call it. It's like this, I don't know if it's a facade. I don't know if it's a character. I don't know what it is. It has benefited me and it has helped me, but I am ready to let go of that. I no longer need it. And it's painful to say that. And I have to pause this episode ever so often and just give a good cry as I move through this. It seems so dumb, but there's such a big attachment to that, and I need to let it go. I have already changed my Instagram name. I haven't mentioned it. I haven't posted anything, so no one really knows because they can't tag me, so there's nothing to repost. I would have to post in order for someone to find my name. I'm sure people out there could search for it and eventually find it, but I am letting go of Loose Warrior.
If you were fixing your bra straps, fussing with wires, or battling your bra during this podcast, stop right now. You'll want to hear this. Those bra problems, those problems you thought you had to live with, Third Love has solved them. Their bras make it easy to get what you want, whether it's ultimate cleavage, a smooth look, or stopping your shirt buttons from pulling. With over 60 sizes, including half cups you won't find anywhere else, you'll never be stuck between two sizes that don't fit. So stop settling for bad bras. Now's the time to treat yourself and get your problem solved. Save $15 on your first order with code PODCAST15 at thirdlove.com.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? Well, with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills. Wait, did I say job title yet? Get started today and see how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Get started at linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
I thought I'd make an episode about this because I want to also share what I'm moving towards now. So we have a community on Patreon, In Luz We Trust Patreon. We also had another Patreon that we were building called Investies. And we have recently decided as a team to sunset Investies and pour more into what was formerly known as In Luz We Trust Patreon and is now rebranded as Investies. We're going to stick with the name Investies because it makes it easier. As I promote the podcast, it's easy to say you can listen to us on your favorite podcast player. You can also be part of our community on patreon.com/investies. It is being branded as Investies with Linda Garcia. So again, I just want to come back to myself. No more Luz Warrior. This is me. This is who I am. It's Linda Garcia. And I wanted to personally invite you all, take the time to invite you all on this podcast to join us over on patreon.com/investies. Patreon is a platform that I have been on since 2017. I've built a community there. It started as Let There Be Luz. It changed to In Luz We Trust, and now it's Investies with Linda Garcia. And so I would love to have you there as a member. We have 4 different tiers that you can join. The first tier is Investies. That's $5 a month. You get this podcast, this episode, and every episode in the future 1 day early with no commercials. So you can listen to it on the Patreon podcast player there. You would also receive a shout out on this podcast for joining us over there. And that is the first tier, $5 a month. Most importantly, you're supporting the work that myself, Asia Simpson, Eliza Smith, and Jacob Winnick are doing on a week-to-week basis. We haven't sold the show. It's just us contributing our time and our energy on a topic that we really feel is important for us to disseminate this type of information to communities that don't have access to resources about these topics or feel overwhelmed from the resources that currently distribute information on the economy and on the stock market. And so it is a token of appreciation that you would be contributing to us over there on Patreon. We have a second tier that is called Opening Bell. The second tier includes everything I just talked about on the Investies tier, and it also includes stock market updates, economic updates, and perspectives that are much more personal that I share over there that I definitely do not share here on the podcast. An example of this is recently I had this really crazy dream about NVIDIA, and it ended up coming into fruition, a part of that dream. We're waiting on the second part, hoping that that maybe it manifests when NVIDIA gives their earnings calls. So I just get much more personal and share perspective in real time. So you would get access to Opening Bell, which was formerly called Morning Bread. For any OGs out there that are familiar with Morning Bread, I have just changed the name to Opening Bell as I move to be more clear and direct about what it is that I am doing. So you get an update on the stock market, top news for the morning, as well as any earnings that are being released, the biggest earnings. Right now we're going through earnings season, so Opening Bell gets really busy for me as I am reporting on the most important, or I guess well-known companies' most anticipated earnings for the season. So you will receive that for $10 a month if you join the Opening Bell tier. And then we also have the exchange. The exchange tier is $25 a month. You receive everything I just mentioned. Plus, you also receive connecting with me for 1 hour with the entire community. Typically, these calls last about an hour to an hour and a half, depending on how many questions folks have. We just have a live Zoom call pertaining to the market. You can ask me any questions pertaining to investing or if something's not clear. It's a very safe community that we've built over there. This is something that I used to do continuously, but since I've had all of the changes, it has been so overwhelming and challenging for me to keep up with. And now that I have more of my bearings, I'm moving back into that direction. I used to over-deliver a lot in the In Luz We Trust Patreon, and now I'm making sure that I can deliver what it is that I'm promising to deliver. So I'm scaling back a little bit in all of the things, but I still want to make sure that everything is intentional, and more importantly, that you are receiving value on that community-based platform. And then the fourth tier is called the portfolio. And in the fourth tier, we have a limited amount of spots. It is $200 for that spot. It is something that you can subscribe to, receive your $200 value, and then move down to a lower tier. So it's not something that you need to continuously pay $200 a month for. I just want to make that clear, especially given that we only have a limited amount of spots. That tier is a one-on-one call with me where I can review your portfolio or discuss with you directly anything that you need more education on pertaining to the economy, pertaining to your portfolio, pertaining to investing in general. It's important for me to tell you that I will not give you stock tips. I won't have those types of conversations or engage in that. But I will help you make the best decisions for you and your family. So I will just guide you into what you and I agree is best for you. So that is the $200 tier called the portfolio. And it's just a really great community over there. As I mentioned, we've created a very safe space. We kick people out if it becomes unsafe. There's no question about that. So that is pretty much my update. It felt like so heavy initially, and it's really not even that bad. I was making a storm out of a glass of water. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey with all of these changes. I appreciate your support. I appreciate you listening to this podcast, rating, reviewing the podcast, sharing it with your friends. All of that is greatly appreciated. And yeah, hopefully I get to see you on patreon.com/investies. Also, really quickly, for my investees that you were on the original Investies Patreon account, check your dashboard over on your Patreon because we do have an important update. You will receive a discount for 2 months free to join the opening bell tier, which gives you everything that you were receiving currently with Investies. And it also gives you access to the opening bell stock market news, economic updates. So we're gifting that for the inconvenience of having to move over. I hope you take advantage of that. I hope to see you all over there. And again, thank you so much for listening to this, what felt like an emotional episode for me. No big deal, but I appreciate you all, and I'll catch you on next week's episode. You're listening to Investies, a Linda Garcia and Cosmic Standard production. A special thank you to the team, Eliza Smith, Jacob Winnick, and Asia Simpson. I said that out of order, but we're going to run with it. I love you all. Thank you for your support. We'll see you next week.